Hello and welcome to the show. I clicked the button and nothing happened, so we'll just roll with it. But with that said, thank you for being here. It is For Future Generations, episode 62, and it is the 10th of May. We are glad to have you along. It is going to be a crazy show, going to be a fun show. We're going to talk about the redistricting fights. There's kind of a lot going on. It's not all just one thing. There's two different perspectives, two different things going on. And we are not, Sean and I mean, we are moderately educated men, but we are not lawyers. We are not attorneys. We are not barred anywhere except for a couple of places from which we are barred for unrelated reasons. Yeah. But we're going to have Samuel Johnson on later to talk about that. We'll introduce him when the time comes. But we're also going to cover a little bit of local news to us, a little bit of crazy nonsense, stuff that really should be being dealt with. Why are there criminals all over? Why is the world falling apart? What in the world is going on? Will somebody do something about it? Who even knows? But before we get all to that, I just want to say a word for our sponsors. Our sponsor, singular, our sponsor is Days Volt Lapel Pins. Days Volt Lapel Pins, and let me select this so you can actually see what's going on. You remember the last couple weeks we've been showing you that he is out of town, on vacation, absconded, and everything is out of stock. Well, gentlemen, I have news for you. I have wonderful news, the wonderfulest news of all, which is that we are back in stock. We are back, baby. We are so back. The White Boy Summer 1183 pin is back in stock. The 250 pin is out of stock still. So guys, come on, come click the button, notify me when available. I am waiting for this one, guys. I need you to come help me out. I need this before our Republican Party convention in June. I need to walk into those doors with this pin, guys. I need your help. So come and click that. But we've also got some very cool new pins. This is a Tennessee Crusader lapel pin. Sold out, but I got one, and very, very fun stuff. But also the Christian Jerusalem cross pins are back in stock. If you're needing some of those, I just got my shipment on Saturday, and I bought the whole pack. So I got all the colors. I got the black. I got another White Boy Summer pin. Can never have too many of those. Got the purple. Got the green. I got the white and gold, and I got the red. So, Sean, what is the ecclesiastical color right now? What is it we're supposed to be doing?
Right now, it is white and gold.
Right now, it is white and gold. So, fellas,
because it is still Easter. It is the 6th
It is
Sunday.
still Easter, guys. It is the holiday that never ends. So, guys, get your Days Volt lapel pins, and there aren't just the Jerusalem cross pins. Those are the ones we started with, and they are still among the best. But there are also, obviously the lone bulwark pin, the Native American colonial pin, which I just love the colors on this one. And I'm partial to this one, the Bonnie Blue Texas pin. So, get over there, look at Days Volt lapel pins, see what they got. And use our code FFGDV26 for 10% off your order. Really great. I mean, he's a good friend, and we love him. We thank him for sponsoring the show. I mean, at this point, he's getting all his sponsorship money back just from me with all the pins that I'm constantly buying. But that's all right. I was going to buy them anyway, and we appreciate him supporting the show. And with that said, we'd like to welcome Mr. Samuel Johnson. Sam, how are you?
Doing well, thank you. Good evening.
All right. Now, Samuel Johnson, for those of you who don't know, he is an attorney serving in the great state of Alabama. And Samuel, if you want to give us just a brief overview of your training, your experience, and where you come from, and that.
All right. Well, first of all, thank you for having me on. It's great to be here with you guys to discuss these issues. It's fascinating, the things we're going to get into. A little bit more about me. I originally grew up in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. I moved to Virginia in 2019. I got into law school at Liberty University in 2020. And upon graduation in 2023, I moved to Alabama to clerk for Chief Justice Tom Parker, then Chief Justice Tom Parker of the state Supreme Court. I did that for a year. Following that, I moved to the Northern Virginia, Washington, D.C. area, did some nonprofit advocacy up there for a little while. And then I moved back here recently, and I'm now in private practice in the river region, the Montgomery and surrounding environs.
Fantastic. And, we're going to lean on you a little bit heavy for the show. Like I said in the opening, Sean and I mean, we're moderately well educated. Sean went to college and I was homeschooled, and that's about the sum of it. So,
Homeschoolers for the win. I was homeschooled myself.
So I am the least educated person on this panel. As you can tell, if you read the descriptions on these videos, there will be words that misspell and get through, and I will be harangued for them as is appropriate. But we are not familiar with necessarily the history of all what's going on with gerrymandering, so we're going to definitely be picking your brain for that. But before we get into that, let's do a quick news roundup. So we got some crazy news coming out of Texas, and we'll kind of blow through these and talk about them a little bit. I like to do a little bit of news roundup right in the beginning. We have this odd situation of a particular individual threw objects at cars, prompting a large police response. A violent repeat offender the DA failed to keep locked up. Almost certainly so. And he's asking and then he's answering. And it's a 40-second clip.
Wow. Yeah.
Going on here. And he's just chucking what looks like very large, heavy objects. Like, I don't know if this was a homeless camp that he's just chucking over the edge of the bridge. And here's the police response. They got ropes on them. They got enough cars to arrest a small... But, so they eventually get over here. And while he was doing this, there's a picture of him getting arrested, pants falling all down. I mean, he might have gotten a little roughed up, and I don't care. But anyway, while he was doing this, actually, there was a pregnant woman who was trying to get to the hospital to have a baby. And because of the traffic, because cars were stopped because they were getting assaulted by this guy, she ended up having to have medical respond to her car. No word on if the baby was born in the car or if mother and baby are well, just that happened. So I say, maybe we should throw him down on a car.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he, community leader, could have been. Yeah,
this is obviously a future astronaut. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I bring this up just to make one point, which is, guys, we don't have to live like this. Okay, this kind of thing is entirely preventable, and I hate that we are turning into a third world hellhole. I mean, a couple weeks ago we had a video, I believe we showed it on the show, of Mexican cartel guys celebrating something. So they took an AR-15 to an overpass and just started shooting at cars driving underneath them with a fully automatic modified AR-15. I mean, we shouldn't have to live like this. All right. We are turning into the third world. And speaking of turning into the third world, you remember that in the news, there was that water park in Texas that was having a Muslim only event. Sean, you probably heard about this. Well, this is the lady who was putting that together. She definitely looks like an American, definitely. I mean, here she is, Dr. Amina Knight. And
let me shut up and listen. We got a doctor in the house. Whoa.
More educated than even Samuel here. I tell you what.
Wow.
But
I do have a doctorate, actually.
Oh, okay. Well, never mind. We will keep.
But what is yours in? What is yours?
Law. It's the Juris Doctor. That's a law degree.
Okay. So yeah. All right, but
hers is probably in how your law degree is racist.
So.
Most
probably.
Yeah.
But anyway, here she is from the Excellence Early Leering Center. So we've heard about that Leering Center in Michigan. The organizer for the Muslims Only Water Park event in Texas also runs a Leering Center for children who are just trying to leer them some knowledge. So the third worldification of America continues, and I hate it. I hate it so much. And as I say, as the sirens blare outside,
Yeah, I was going to say,
window.
it sounds like they're trying to get the third world.
Yeah. They're coming to take me away. Haha, they're coming to take me away. But
if I may, a quick legal disclaimer. Everyone is presumed innocent until proven guilty. And of course, we're not to prejudge any sort of proceedings that might be taken against these individuals. So just wanted to get that out there.
Yeah, well, I mean, we have video of the guy throwing stuff at the cars.
I said until proven guilty.
As a lawyer, you will have to say that, but as a layman, I will say, hang him. So.
Well, I mean, if video is proof of being guilty, then
yeah, all right. But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. I'm sure he will see his day in court and probably be let out very promptly because he has a mental condition that causes him to throw microwaves at passing traffic.
Oh, well, in that case, I mean, if you come over and stay at my place, I mean.
Anyhow, with that being said, let's hit comments real quick, and then we will get into the subject. We've got T. James Boone says, hey. Good to see you, James. Thanks for coming along. And Sir Vilder says, Christ is risen, you filthy animal. Christ is risen indeed. Yes, it is still the Easter season. Thank you, Vilder, for bringing that to our attention. And Reformed Rogue, of course, giving us the clap back, the appropriate call and response. And yes, it is Mother's Day. So happy Lord's Day. Happy Mother's Day to all of the mothers who probably should not be watching this program. This is a very guy-centric program. We do not try to make it safe or appropriate for the female. If you enjoy this and you're a woman, say something in the comments, because there are guys who would love to hear that there are females about, especially if you're single. If you're a single lady, in the comments, let somebody know there are hungry men who are looking for wives. But Sir Vilder says, when will the Celtic Cross be back in stock? Sir Vilder, if you want to see something back in stock on Dave'sVoltLapelPins.com, the way to do that is click the notify me button and then say something in the comments of this show. And we will say, guys, go to the Celtic Cross and click notify me when it's back in stock so that Sir Vilder can get his Celtic Cross. All right. And T. James Boone says, happy Mother's Day to all the lovely, submissive, obedient, stay-at-home moms out there. That's right. That's right.
And for everyone else, I've got my special sign today. The empty egg carton drop box is over here. So
just for you.
If you're an empty egg carton, happy Mother's Day to you and your dog or your cat or whatever.
Oh my goodness. Modern Patriarch says Dave's Volt never misses. Yeah, he never misses, man. I mean, I love this pin, this Tennessee Crusader Cross. I'm repping it. I'm not from Tennessee. I've been through there a couple times and I love it. I love the people there, but I love Dave's Volt lapel pins. Reformed Rogue says, glad to see Samuel Johnson back. Yeah, that's right. This is his second appearance on the show. We appreciate you for coming along. Alex Oliar says, I'm mostly here to say Samuel Johnson is the best and that Panikins should vote Republican. That's right.
Well,
that's right, folks. Samuel Johnson is our resident plantrister, and we are the Panikins. So
he will vote for the Pajit. He will eat the bugs.
The only bugs I eat are mud bugs.
Yeah,
there you go. Yeah, I ate some mud bugs tonight actually for dinner.
Yeah, it's this past just Friday. Yeah.
I was seeing some people celebrating. What was it? Pentecost, having Pentecost feast with a crawfish boil, and man, it looked good. It looked real good. So I love it. And Alex Oliar says the South truly is the lone bulwark. Yes, indeed, sir, it is. And Sir Vilder, do stupid things, expect to win stupid prizes. This is about getting arrested on an overpass with your pants around your ankles, I bet. But Ben Mordecai, glad to have you along. He says, praise God, great men on the stream. Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate it. And he says, love you all. Ben, we love you too. You're a good man. And T. James Boone, for everyone else, the empty egg carton. That's right.
Thank you.
And Reform Rogue says he's waiting on that Celtic Cross too. So guys, go click that button. Remind me.
You're waiting for the Celtic Cross to do what?
To be back in
what
stock.
Are you waiting?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's what, okay. Yeah, I got you.
All right. Well, with that said, folks, let's get into the topic. And Samuel, there were two Supreme Courts, not the same Supreme Court, two Supreme Courts that had two decisions about two separate things that both involve redistricting. So we want to touch on what in the world is going on in Virginia. So this is the Commonwealth of Virginia. Do not say the state of Virginia, people. The ghost of Robert E. Lee will come and haunt you. But the Commonwealth of Virginia spent $70 million on this map. That is the Democrat Party there. Spent $70 million to promote this map, get it put on the ballot, and voted, and it passed by a slim margin. And notice how all these areas come back to this one county up in northern Virginia. And that county is reaching its talons out into the rest of the Commonwealth in order to get those blue districts so they can get some more Democrat representation in the Congress of the United States. These are congressional districts. Remember, 2 senators per state. But congressionals are based upon population. And so these districting wars happen pretty much every time there's a new census counting how many people are in the state. But if you would, Samuel, could you give us just a brief overview on where did this map come from and what's going on with it? Just very briefly.
Well, it's pretty simple. The map came from the Virginia Commonwealth Democratic Party. They decided they wanted to maximize Democrat power in Congress. They're looking forward to the midterms, when control of the U.S. House of Representatives is going to have a big effect on whether President Trump's agenda can move forward. So what they're looking to do is try to send as many Democratic representatives to Congress from Virginia as possible, try to wrest majority control of the House from Republicans. Mm-hmm. So what they decided to do is essentially do an end run around the Virginia state constitution. The Virginia state constitution recently was amended, I believe back in 2019, 2020, somewhere around there, to take the control of drawing legislative districts away from the state legislature and hand it to what they call a nonpartisan commission.
And these nonpartisan commissions, they're always perfectly nonpartisan. That's how you
absolutely
end up with
because everyone knows it's entirely possible, and most people do this very well, to separate your political beliefs from your political actions. And so these nonpartisan commissions nearly always result in perfectly fair and balanced district maps.
That's why they look like this.
Well, actually, this isn't the result of a nonpartisan commission.
Oh.
So the nonpartisan commission drew the current Virginia map, which has 6 Democratic districts and 5 Republican districts. Mm-hmm. And that didn't sit well with the Democratic Party because the Republicans now hold control of the House of Representatives by 4 seats. So in order to wheedle down that Republican majority as much as possible, the state legislature of Virginia decided to have a referendum on redistricting and essentially redistrict by popular vote. So that is outside the procedures for drawing legislative districts that are mandated by the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Alabama, or of Virginia, excuse me.
Right. Yeah, because it's not up to the popular vote. You don't get to vote on your districts.
So there were a couple of issues in this case. Well, first of all, obviously, this is a ridiculous map. Out of the 11 districts, I believe 6 of them originate here in this little circle up in Fairfax County, which is the most heavily populated county in Virginia. and also leans extremely heavily Democrat, north of 80% in most elections.
Because it's just the counterpart on this side of the river of Washington, D.C. So,
it's a Washington, D.C. suburb.
Politics. Yeah.
Yeah. So you got roughly 80% Democrat. And even though you have, you can see on that map, a lot of the locations in Fairfax County within those districts are very small. That area still contains enough population to essentially flip the vote of the rest of those districts.
Right. Which is why they're doing it.
Right. You see District 7 there, looks like a lobster coming down from Fairfax County. Mm-hmm. And the vast majority of that district is undeniably red. Mm-hmm. But because there's enough of Fairfax County in that district, it's a blue district.
Right.
So this is what we would call a partisan gerrymander. They're gerrymandering entirely for political purposes to give their party an edge in national politics.
And I guess that's a good segue for us to talk about, what is gerrymandering? And so, we've got an old map. I mean, this is a political cartoon from the founding of our country here. This is the gerrymander, a new species of monster, which appeared in Essex South District in January last from the Boston Sentinel. And here we have, you see the colored in green, the actual map of the original gerrymander, a Massachusetts State Senate district drawn in 1812. And the second picture, map of the Massachusetts 2nd Congressional District, 13th Congress.
Yeah. Actually, gerrymandering is named after, this will give you some idea of how old it is. It's named after Elbridge Gerry, who was actually a signer of the Declaration of Independence. So
that's early on, pretty much immediately.
Immediately after the adoption of our constitutions and the Constitution of the state of Massachusetts, they were already creatively drawing districts so as to give their party a competitive advantage.
Yeah.
So
and this is also, I mean, if you look at this district compared to some of the districts, first off, that we just saw, as well as some that we will see in the future coming up, this looks positively saintly. I mean, it looks like an old sainted mother. I mean, compared to what they're trying to do in Virginia and what they've done in several other places.
It's very reasonably contiguous and compact compared to some of the ones we've seen and some of the ones we're going to see. But anyway, this district was the source of a lot of controversy in its era. This was actually the district that Elbridge Gerry was hoping to represent in Congress. Mm-hmm. And back in the day, the word salamander was a synonym for a dragon. So you have a lot of older synonyms for dragon in that time. You have worm, salamander, whatever.
Yeah, so, remember the word dinosaur was invented very recently after this, actually. So
salamander now refers to a relatively innocuous amphibious creature, but it referred to a dragon then. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so they looked at this district.
You're saying this is older than dinosaurs? Is
it actually
this whole argument? Yeah.
But it
was older than the word dinosaur. Yes.
Yeah. The story that I had heard in public school was that initially in the newspaper, like there were two reporters who were talking, and one guy was like, "Oh, this district looks like a salamander," and then the other guy had said, "Oh, you mean a gerrymander?" And so it's because inserting the guy's name in there, and so it became this like they just named it that, but like now we just say gerrymander without. Most people, I would imagine, don't even know that there's a name and a salamander thing together.
Yeah. It started out as a noun to cast opprobrium on one man's stooping to pursue his ambition, and has become a verb meaning to creatively draw districts for partisan or other political advantage.
Yeah, some linguistic evolution there, kind of like how every time there's a scandalous controversy, it's a something gate, this gate, that gate, the other gate, all originates from the Watergate Hotel, which gate was just, Watergate was the name of the hotel. So, now a gerrymander, will forever, for at least as long as our nation continues to do this kind of nonsense, will remain the word that we use to describe this kind of behavior. But Yeah, so Virginia gerrymandering, trying to get these blue districts, trying to get their guys into Congress in order to flip the House. And but that this what's been going on in Virginia is actually distinct from the United States Supreme Court, which we've got here Louisiana versus Calais et al. This Supreme Court decision that came down April 29th, so late last month. They came out with this, and the Supreme Court ruled against race-based districting. And this has nothing to do with Virginia. Virginia did not get struck down by the U.S. Supreme Court, the SCOTUS Supreme Court of the United States. It was, in fact, a Virginia Supreme Court, a Democratic Virginia Supreme Court. But here we have a report from Fox News. I won't play the video, but I'll just kind of read you the blurb here. Supreme Court strikes down race-based district maps in a 6-3 ruling. The Supreme Court found that race-based congressional districting under the Voting Rights Act violates the Constitution. Analysts believe this could lead to map changes in multiple states ahead of the next election cycle, as we will see. But go ahead and give us, Samuel, if you will, please, give us kind of the skinny on what exactly this Supreme Court decision says, and what does it mean in layman terms?
Well, for that, I'm going to have to go a little further back. See, the source of this controversy started in the South, and this is why it centers here. It started in the wake of the war between the states with the 14th and 15th Amendments, guaranteeing Black people, the right to vote, and preventing any abridgment of their right to vote. The 14th Amendment with its Equal Protection Clause, and then, of course, the 15th Amendment directly. The 15th Amendment allows, in Section 2, it says Congress shall have the power to enforce this article by appropriate legislation. So in the 1960s, after quite a long time, about 100 years after the Civil War, there was still a lot of discrimination in the South against Black people with regards to voting. You had a lot of different tests that were imposed on Black people that weren't imposed on whites, for example. You had a bunch, there was just a whole lot of different stuff that Southern states were doing to make it harder for Black people to actually vote. So Congress, under their authority to enforce the 15th Amendment by appropriate legislation, passed the Voting Rights Act. The Voting Rights Act of 1963 or 1965, one of the two. And this controversy centers directly around Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, which basically says that you can't have or enforce any restrictions on voting or the opportunity to cast a vote or count ballots or whatever, right? You can't essentially prevent Black people from voting. So over the years, this Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act has been interpreted by the U.S. Supreme Court in a number of different cases to protect a right to an equal opportunity to elect representatives of your choice. Now, there's a huge amount of controversy about what that means in law, right? If I'm a Republican in a district where the majority of people are Democratic, I don't have much opportunity to elect a candidate of my choice, do I? That doesn't mean we should draw the entirety of the country into safe seats. We can't do that. It's just not possible. Of course, if you have a Black person in a district of majority white people, and the white people are biased against Black people to the extent that they will not elect a Black candidate, and the Black people in that district really want a Black candidate, well, they're also not going to have a whole lot of opportunity to elect the candidate of their choice. So there's a couple of different understandings of what that means. First of all, you have what I think is the more sane approach. And this is the approach taken by Justice Thomas. And incidentally, Justice Gorsuch joined with his concurrence in the Kelly case, that Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act pertains only to procedures and restrictions on voting and ballot counting. You must allow Black people to vote, to actually cast a ballot, And then you must count black ballots equally with white ballots. You cannot say, well, this ballot came from a majority black area, so we're not going to count those. You have to count the ballots fairly and let people vote.
Yeah, and that gets back to what you were talking about originally, where there were these restrictions that were the entire purpose of these restrictions was to make it more difficult for African Americans to cast a vote, to make a vote. Yeah.
And so Justice Thomas, I think this is more consistent with the language of Section 2. Let me read the relevant language of Section 2, subsection A. It says, no voting qualification, 1, or prerequisite to voting, or standard, practice, or procedure shall be imposed or applied by any state or political subdivision in a manner which results in a denial or abridgment of the right of any citizen of the United States to vote on account of race or color. Nothing in that language says anything about redistricting. It completely talks about voting. So the issue in this case becomes one of, well, what's the use of actually casting a ballot if your ballot is so diluted, if your group is so diluted that your vote doesn't matter, okay? Because it is possible to do what they did in Virginia, to draw districts in such a way that Loudoun County, which is 40% Republican, it will not be elected by a single, or will not be represented by a single Republican in either the House of Representatives of the United States or the Virginia State Legislature. So all those Republicans have zero opportunity to elect a candidate of their choice, right? So that's what this comes down to. If Black people tend to congregate in certain areas, and in the South they often do, they tend to congregate in certain areas where they are the majority of the population. And if those districts are sliced and diced into other white majority districts, the Black people do not have much opportunity at all for Black representation, or even for representation that just represents their political views. So the issue here is that the South used to do this thing called packing and cracking. And this isn't just endemic to the South. It's all over the country, but all over the country is like in Virginia, you see this for partisan purposes. In the South,
we'll see this when we look at Utah later in the show. You know, they have a very similar situation. Utah, famously extremely white, but they do have minority populations that are all located in Salt Lake City. Right.
But, you know, there's two different ways to gerrymander, right? You can crack and you can pack. So what cracking is where you have a conclave or a concentration of a certain group in a certain place, and you slice that place between multiple districts so as to dilute its vote over multiple districts rather than allow it to have its own district and thus get its own representation. Packing is where you do the opposite. You take a bunch of different people of a certain group, even if they might be spread out over a wide range of areas, and you put them all within a single district so they can only influence that one district and don't influence any other districts.
Yeah.
So these
that's not necessarily always racial. I mean, it can be based off demographics, or it can be based off of political affiliation, or, you know, any variety of things can be packed or cracked either direction.
So this is
what comes down to the big
Oh, I'm sorry. This has been my issue. I brought this up in previous episodes, that I feel that the way that we do districts and states and whatnot in our Constitution is now outdated, because what you used to have, as John Jay famously said in Federalist Number 2, we're people of one religion. We all spoke the same language. We're all of a common ancestry. We all had this one struggle that we were all part of. And so you were a united people. The only difference that you had was where in that nation you existed. And so a Virginian was not a Massachusetts or whatever, or New Yorker or whatever, right? Like that is what divided us, because we had all those other things in common. But now you have there's some book where it's basically the worldview next door, right? This person's in a whole other world, and they live right next door to you in your same district. And so I look at that and I'm like, well, maybe it does make sense to just have like a black, like to cut off the black area and say, here you go, guys, here's your guy. You go ahead and throw your black caucus guy or whatever you got to do. Don't involve me with it, because I would like to have a man who can represent me, and you want a man who can represent you. And so what do you think of that? Because I think that it's now outdated, the way that we do these districts, because now, I mean, really the biggest line that we have within these districts is racial, right? And so it actually does make sense to have racial lines.
There's two different things at play here.
Okay.
Most gerrymandering is not done for racial purposes. Most gerrymandering is done for purposes of gaining partisan political power. And even a lot of racial gerrymandering is motivated by partisan political power.
Right.
The issue is that the Constitution's Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment basically bans any and all discrimination by race. And this goes into the legal doctrines surrounding the Equal Protection Clause, one of which is that when you discriminate on the same basis on the basis of race, the federal courts are required to implement what is called strict scrutiny. And what strict scrutiny is that there's several different levels of scrutiny in federal court. The first level, which is what the vast majority of state action triggers, is rational basis scrutiny, which is if the government has a rational basis for taking its action, it will be presumed to be correct. Okay. And the party challenging the governmental action has a high bar of a heavy burden of proof, a high bar and a heavy burden of proof to overcome before it can invalidate that action. Then you have on the other end strict scrutiny, which means that the government has to have a compelling state interest in taking the action, and the action needs to be narrowly tailored to achieve that interest. So if you don't have a compelling interest, if you have an important interest, but it's not compelling, the action is presumed invalid and is overturned. And if you do have a compelling interest, but don't narrowly tailor your action to that precise interest, it's gone likewise. So typically when you have, So typically when you have racial discrimination of any kind and variety, it triggers strict scrutiny under the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment, except in racial districting cases. The Supreme Court never applied strict scrutiny in racial redistricting cases, because the Supreme Court, up until the 29th of April this year, never decisively determined whether compliance with Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act could be a compelling state interest for purposes of drawing district boundaries. In multiple cases coming down through the years, they assumed that it could be for the sake of argument, but they never actually decided the question.
Yeah, and it was never demonstrated, right?
It was never demonstrated. It was never a question that was actually before the court for decision. So what they did essentially in Louisiana versus Calais is they found that Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act does not present a compelling state interest in drawing districts so as to achieve districts that have a majority population of a minority status. So that's not a compelling state interest, so you can't do it.
Gotcha.
Because that would be unconstitutional racial discrimination. Mm-hmm. You're supposed to draw districts in a colorblind manner.
So here's where I guess that's why I, taking away the constitutionality of it, because obviously we've talked about this on the show. Like if it was up to you, we would just have monarchy. We just have an absolute monarchy. And so, but so in that realm, I guess I would rather see something like a parliamentary system. If we were to do democracy in some fashion, I would rather see parliament, because at that point, if the entire nation is voting for their representative, you end up getting equal portions of what everyone wants. So like if all of the blacks wanted to get together and say we're having the black party, and they voted and 13%, so they get 13% of the representation based on their voting, assuming that all of them vote, which they don't, you know what I mean? And so you could do that. Like you could have like the Confederacy Party or whatever. And all 10 of us would get together and get some rep. No, I'm just playing. But we would, that would be the way that I think you would get better representation in that fashion. So at the national level where you have like the House of Representatives, or, I mean, I guess you could still do the Senate the same way, but even though
there
I
are
believe
no districts for the Senate, it's done state by state.
Right. Well, right.
Yeah.
I'm just saying like you do Senate the same way it's currently done, but the House of Representatives would be the whole state, like say Texas, like, we have the For Future Generations Party. And, if we can get enough of the vote, then Jeff gets in and a little bit more of the vote than I get in. And you know what I mean? Like, I think that just,
well, and
how do you feel about that kind of idea?
There are some countries that do things like this, or some governments that will have, different parties in different branches that then have to work things out between themselves. There's absolutely no reason why you couldn't have two national parties for senators and then, 8 or 9 national parties for the Congress. That is a workable system. But give us your thoughts, Samuel.
Well, for one thing, if we had a monarch, this wouldn't be a problem at all anyway, because nobody would be voting, and so district lines wouldn't matter. Number 2, the national Senate should not be elected by the people. We need to go back to having it elected by the state legislatures, as it was in the beginning. Number 3, you say representation, but there's actually multiple meanings to that word, politically speaking. There are different theories of representation. There's the authorization theory, and then there's the snapshot theory. And what I think you're going with is the snapshot theory of representation, where the idea is that the representative body needs to essentially look like a microcosm of the people it is representing. So if you have a certain number of people of certain different persuasions, different races, what have you, there should be a relatively proportional number of people of those persuasions and races in the deliberative body for it to truly be representative. I reject that theory. I don't think that is actual representation. I think, it might be representation in the way that a photograph is a representation of you, but I don't think it truly encapsulates the meaning of real political representation, which I think is authorization. When someone represents you, they may not look like you, they may not sound like you, but you have authorized them to speak on your behalf. So whoever you authorize to speak on your behalf represents you. And under this theory, we could have a 100% white Congress or a 100% black Congress. And if all the people in their respective districts have authorized these individuals to speak on their behalf, it is a representative Congress. So the theory of representation that I would go with is whoever the voters elect represents them, regardless of what they look like.
Well, sure. Okay. But I mean, I think all three of us agree that what we look like is just the skin deep version of who we are as people. I mean, we believe in real difference. Real differences between people groups that
the other problem with the snapshot theory is that it would require Congress to be 52% female. It would require Congress to be 13% black, 20-some% Hispanic.
Well, hold on.
It's not.
Does the snapshot theory it only accounts for like demographics, or is it like political beliefs? Because when you first described the snapshot theory, I thought what you were trying to say is that, we have to have at least now you're making it sound like we have to have at least one black and or indigenous wheelchair bound trans, whatever.
Depending on the percentage of the population. Yes.
Right.
The snapshot theory is basically that in order for a body to be truly representative, they need to look like a microcosm of what they are representing. And that's where you get this idea that black people need to be represented by black people, or they can't be represented adequately by anybody else.
Sure. I think those things are, I mean, the numbers wise, you're going to end up with the same representatives for the same people groups. Just because, I mean, if you look at who votes Democrat, I mean, it is very, very, I mean, especially with African Americans.
It's heavily female. It's heavily minority.
Heavily. I mean,
Right.
to the point where they showed that voting map where it was what every state would look like if only men voted or only women voted. And the one that was if only non-whites voted, I mean, it was blue everywhere. And there with an asterisk that explained, like, it doesn't matter if I take into account college education or gender or whatever.
Right.
Once you take whites out of the equation, that's blue. The entire nation is blue.
Well, the Republican Party basically represents what is left of Western civilization. And Western civilization was built by people from Western Europe. That's what we call it, right? Yeah. So there is a reason that the descendants of the people who built Western civilization would still be in favor of hanging on to the tattered shreds of it that remain. Yeah. But at the same time, the snapshot theory of representation ultimately, I think, fails because it doesn't adequately consider what political representation is for. Because what representation is for being spoken for. You're electing someone to speak for you in the making of laws. You're not electing someone to look like you on stage. You're electing someone to speak for you. So that's what political representation is for, which is why I think the authorization theory better encapsulates the real telos of representation in politics. The other, from a purely pragmatic perspective, if you take the snapshot theory of representation as correct, you can say goodbye to conservative causes in the Republican Party as a whole. There's just no way that half of the country no longer believes in conservative causes. More than half of the available electorate are not conservative.
Even within the Republican Party. Yeah.
Right. So for us, it's more essential that we hold to the authorization view of representation, particularly because we want to win.
Yeah. So let me give a practical example. So in my city, there's very much a north and a south, right? And so recently we had an issue where me up in the north of the freeway people, we had a land dispute type thing. And it turned out that every single person on our city council was south of the freeway. And really also every single person on like all these boards and commissions and stuff is all people south of the freeway. And so we north of the freeway people were being represented by nothing but people south of the freeway. And we felt that they were not representing our interests.
They were not speaking for you well. So you withdrew your authorization for them to speak for you.
Right. But that's
what I'm saying.
Right.
Here.
No. But that's okay. So, but
if someone from south of the freeway had represented your interests well, it wouldn't have mattered that they were from south of the freeway, would it?
Correct. Yeah. No, and that kind of became the debate. Was that because one person on the city council had even brought up, well, if we're going to go based on that, then we should have like half women on the boards and commissions, and we should have blah blah. And
it is an open door on that, based on that perspective.
Right? Yeah, I guess my argument was that
the real perspective on this is not where somebody's from or who somebody is, but what they stand for. It's the policies, right? That's what it comes down to. When you're talking about representation, it comes down to interests, policies, and men, not geography.
Sure. But I guess that's where I would push back some and just say that like nobody represents us like us. And if I mean that was really the whole point, I would argue that was the whole bedrock of the war between the states was nobody represents us like us. We wanted John Breckinridge for president.
President isn't supposed to be a representative office anyway.
Well, Samuel, I don't know what to tell you, buddy. Like that's it's just the way people think, isn't it?
No,
But
I know.
I
But
guess,
what I am saying though is that the president is not supposed to be a representative office. So it wasn't so much about representation. It was that the president that they're electing is going to do things to us that are bad for us.
Right.
We need to have someone doing some things that are good for us. So what do we have to do to get somebody to do things that are good for us?
Right. Yeah.
That's ultimately what it comes down to.
Yeah, it comes that you had essentially the chief executive legislating.
Yeah. Well, ultimately, I think we're sticking on this one issue a little more than I'd like to, but
okay.
I think the idea that you need to have certain groups of people being represented only by their own people. I mean, yeah, there's some merit to that idea for sure. But at the same time, if that is absolutely necessary, then where's the line drawn? Yeah. And if it's not absolutely necessary, then the best way to go about it is to focus on who is doing what for whom.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's why I think the logical conclusion to me saying that like nobody represents us like us is national divorce. I mean, that's why I kind of tend to think that way. I mean, I agree with what you're saying on paper, in theory, right?
Well, at the same time, I mean, if I'm a Republican in a Democratic district, my representative doesn't represent me. So what's the solution? Do we go on carving up districts and, adding members to Congress until every man is in Congress and represents himself?
Physical removal is the answer. That's always the answer, is physical removal.
But we're getting a little bit
of Congress.
I'm
sorry.
We kind of discussed, to sum up, the Supreme Court of the United States says that, basing districts off of race is not appropriate.
And I'd like to go into a little more about what they said regarding race-based redistricting versus political-based redistricting.
Yeah, if you could.
There was another 2019 decision in the Supreme Court called Rucho versus Common Cause that decided that politically motivated gerrymandering disputes are what's called not justiciable in federal court. What that means is that these are political questions that the judicial branch lacks jurisdiction to decide. It kind of resurrected a long dormant legal doctrine called the political question doctrine, which is that judges shouldn't engage in deciding questions that are best left to the political process and are reserved to the political process under the Constitution. So they essentially said, if you've got a gerrymandering case based on the parties wrangling for political power, we're not going to touch it. Mm-hmm. You don't take it to our courts.
That's the purview of the parties and the people voting for them.
Precisely. It's the purview of the parties, the people, and the political process. So from the perspective of the Supreme Court under current law, politics-based redistricting is okay.
And that's what was going on. That's what they're trying to do in Virginia. And I kind of want to get back to Virginia and why did it get overturned? Because it doesn't actually have anything to do with the Supreme Court. And here we have, the Virginia Supreme Court overturned the Democrat gerrymandering referendum. The old map had 10 Democrats and 1 Republican. That's the picture that we just saw, where that was voted and passed. The new map is 6 Democrats and 5 Republicans. So back to what it was before.
Meet the new map, same as the old map.
Yeah, welcome to the new map, same as the old map. But here you have the Circuit Court of Tazewell County. Came out. And Samuel, if you would, give us an overview of why did this get rejected by this court in Virginia? Because it didn't have anything to do with racial discrimination. It was actually a process violation. Is that right?
That's correct. Yes. I think I touched on this earlier. The Virginia Constitution was recently amended to require redistricting to be done by a nonpartisan commission. The nonpartisan commission came up with the old map and now the new map, the 6-5 split. Right, 6-5 split. And then the Democrats didn't like that because that doesn't give them enough of a chance at a majority of the House of Representatives. So what they decided to do is get a referendum on the ballot this year ahead of the midterm elections to ram through another redistricting that cut around the constitutionally mandated special commission or nonpartisan commission. So there were two issues in the Virginia case. Number one, the language of the referendum was exceedingly deceptive and very, very biased in favor of the referendum. For example, it asked if voters wanted to restore fairness in voting by doing such.
Yeah, that was the name of it, was restore fairness in voting.
Right.
Yeah.
Shall the maps of the districts be rearranged in this completely obvious partisan power play to restore fairness in voting? And of course, who is against fairness? Well, don't answer, guys. Don't answer. But yeah. So the language was very deceptive and misleading. And secondly, and this was the more important issue, the process by which it got on the ballot was an end run around the Virginia Constitution itself. It's not so much what the result was of the vote as the fact that it should never have been on the ballot in the first place.
Yeah, not everything is up to a Democratic vote. We are a republic. Mm-hmm. Not everything, you can't just vote for something and, if we decide tomorrow that, hey, we're going to have a referendum and we're going to vote to change the color of the sky, that doesn't actually change the way that the process works. You don't have jurisdiction over that.
Well, basically what the Virginia Supreme Court said was if you want to have a referendum and have the public vote on representative districts, you can do that. You've just got to go through the process to amend the state or the Commonwealth Constitution first.
Right.
You can't just, say, well, the Constitution says you have to do it this way, but I just want to do it any old how, so I'm just going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the issue in Virginia. And
that's why it got overturned.
That's why it got overturned. And most importantly, as we've already seen, this is why that ruling didn't get appealed to the Supreme Court of the United States, because, again, political gerrymanders are not justiciable in federal court. So only the state courts of Virginia had control over this.
Yeah. And I want to talk about this comment real quick, which is T. James Boone says, Virginia Democrats are talking about lowering the mandatory retirement age for the state Supreme Court to 53 to force all the sitting justices out so they can restack the court and get their decision reversed. So essentially what they're doing now is, instead of doing the process like we described, where what they would have to do is amend the entire Constitution, what they want to do instead is just get a different result. Hey, we want to get all new justices that are just going to rubber stamp what we just did. Even though we didn't follow the process, even though we didn't follow the Constitution, what we want to do is just have them rubber stamp what we did so that we don't have to worry about it anymore. And
let's go do some judge shopping, boys.
Yeah. Let's just shop around until we find somebody who likes what we said. And he follows up with the question, is that viable? I mean, is it possible that you could stack the court and get what you want? Well, yes, it would be, but then it would just immediately. The midterms. Yeah, it would take time.
There's no way you're doing it before the midterms.
Yeah, but second off, even if that were possible, it would still go to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court would take 5 minutes and say, yeah, guys, what you're doing is against your own Constitution. You can't do that. I mean, it's like, I'm a member of a fraternity, and we had a big hubbub because we realized halfway through a year, right before tax season, that we were not following our own Constitution. We said, guys, if the feds walk in here and look at the way that our fraternity is behaving, they're going to have a cow. And a lot of different groups, young Republicans and 501c3s, nonprofits, they all have constitutions that they follow, right? And gentlemen's clubs, boys clubs. I don't mean to say gentlemen's club like a place where you go and hang out with loose women, but
gentlemen never step
Rotary
foot in those
club.
Places anyway.
Yeah, very few gentlemen there. But like Rotary clubs, if they are not following their constitution, Boys and Girls Club of America and things like that, they're going to be investigated. They're going to be charged, and people, heads will roll.
Mhm.
And if you're doing that at a statewide level, where you've got people who are just flagrantly disobeying the rules that they have set out for them, they can change their own rules. That's within the playbook. You can change your own rules. You just have to vote on it and rewrite the rules. But you can't just break the rules that you've written for yourself, because that is fraud, which is a crime. And there will
Aside
be
from legislative immunity, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, in this case, when you have shareholders and you have people who are benefactors from certain clubs or nonprofits,
Mhm.
etc., you are defrauding people by not following your rules. And in this case, it would not be necessarily a prosecutable crime, but it would be a flagrant breaking of rules that would cause, people to be removed from office. It would be a very serious problem. And, as far as is that viable, what T. James Boone just asked, is it viable? Not really. I mean, it would end up going to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court would kick it out because they are just not following the rules. They are flagrantly breaking the rules.
I have a little pushback on that. I'm not sure that the U.S. Supreme Court would have jurisdiction over the state legislature exercising their power to define and enforce the qualifications for the judiciary in the Commonwealth of Virginia. So I don't know that
may
would go
be
to the
so,
U.S.
yeah.
Supreme Court. What I
Yeah.
do think would happen is, I think they do have a chance of doing this. The thing is, it's not going to happen before the midterms.
Yeah. So
And-
as far as it being viable, still the answer is they don't have enough time.
Right.
Yeah. Well, getting on, we do need to move on because we're over past the 1 hour mark and we're not a quarter of the way through some of the things we want to talk about today. But the challenge to the Supreme Court of Virginia has been absolutely hilarious. In this one snapshot, you can see the Virginia Democrats misspelled the words Virginia and senator. So Speaker of the Virginia House of Delegates et al. Versus the appellates Ryan T. McDougal, Virginia State Senator and Legislative Commissioner, et cetera. I mean, this is what you're seeing here is panic. This is getting rushed. This is panic, and there's a reason for that.
They're not even hitting spell check before shooting it out the door.
There could have been. Virginia really lent itself to a very cool word that could have been slipped in there instead. Say, Don Scott in his official capacity as Speaker of the House of Virginia, House of Delegates.
Oh,
I would like to.
That's one direction, or he could drop the R and
Yeah, pronounce it like my buddy in high school would say, Virginia.
Yeah.
That was always
so. Yeah,
Oh,
I mean, guys, spell check exists, and this is another example of people think teachers are magical beings that nobody can homeschool because teachers are so amazing, or your representatives are gods among men. I mean, at the end of the day, these people are just people, and they make mistakes. Especially, I mean, we've got this too. The Attorney General Jay Jones.
The Attorney General.
Yeah, he says, today I took decisive action to stop Donald Trump's attack on Virginia in-state tuition law. And he posts a picture of the Attorney General, Office of the Attorney General. And, these people they're not sending their best. I mean, these people are not serious. They are not doing their homework. They are not following procedure. They're not following rules. They're not even using spell check. And this is not going to work because, even as this person points out, the Democrat justice on the Supreme Court wrote the opinion striking down the Democrat gerrymander. And this is his response. Very appropriate.
This guy.
Even the Democrats are telling the Democrats, guys, you're doing this all wrong.
I will say Democrats being the principal losers for once was not on my 2026 bingo card.
Right.
Oh,
usually they're all too happy to break the rules, but
we'll take it.
In this case, and there are unconfirmed reports that the office of the governor, their new very left-wing woman governor, who just got in, that she told them, hey, don't do this, it's illegal. And then they did it, and it got overturned by the Democrat Virginia Supreme Court because it was illegal. So it's not like they didn't see this coming. They should have known better, and they tried anyway. And boy, what an absolute mess they're making.
Well, this is the source of a lot of frustration, I think, in the conservative side of politics right now. You see Democrats doing stuff like this when they know that the rules are against what they want to do. They will challenge the rules rather than forego doing what they want to do. They're playing to win, and they're playing a fundamentally different game from what conservative politics have played for the past 40, 50, 60 years. Conservatives idealistically have this idea that politics is essentially a game of chess. And when you're electing people to represent you at a chess game, who do you elect? You elect your thugs or your nerds? Well, typically, if you want to play a good game of chess, you'll elect your nerds, right? So conservatives have been electing our nerds for the past several decades to represent us at what we are seeing as a gentlemanly game of chess. And the Democrats are electing their thugs to represent them at a street fight. So we execute a brilliant chess move, they slug us in the face. We protest that being slugged in the face is not conducive to a gentlemanly game of chess and proceed to execute another brilliant chess move. And, so we've been bringing chessmen to a fist fight. And this, I think, is why Democrats are so upset about Donald Trump being president. Because
he's not a gentleman, he's a thug.
He's a thug. We didn't elect a nerd, we elected a thug. So I think Republicans are starting to wake up to what the game is that's actually being played. And this is why you see the overwhelming response to this Calais decision across the South.
Calais decision that came out of the U.S. Supreme Court, the SCOTUS, where you have this redistricting, you can't district based on race, and the ramifications are wild. I mean, here is, somebody pointing out Virginia's map was struck down. Is California next? California's map maker drew its new maps to ensure that racially gerrymandered VRA seats are bolstered in order to make them most effective. And that is a quote. Well, that is illegal under the new SCOTUS decision. And this is this is what those seats could look like if it were changed, but other states are also stepping in. You've got Indiana. Indiana, a very interesting thing happened. So you had a bunch of senators who refused to redistrict because they didn't want this new districting map to come in. Beautiful losers, these Republicans. They didn't want to be unfair. They wanted to leave Democrat seats. And what happened in the election that just happened, the primary, is these people got voted out. These anti-Trump Republicans who were against this new proposal, they got booted. They got kicked to the curb. And it is very likely that Indiana is going to go from this picture on the left, where you have 2 blue districts in an otherwise very red Indiana with 9 congressional districts, to a new map with still 9 congressional districts, but gerrymandered in such a way as to have 0 blue seats. And you can see there in the middle, Indianapolis now, instead of being its own district, North Indianapolis, it gets cut into 4 pieces. And
can I have a point of clarification on this? When we're showing these like proposed boundaries where the map changes colors like that, there hasn't actually been a vote.
Yeah, this has not taken place. The map on the left is the current Indiana boundaries. They were going to change it, and then the senators in Indiana voted against this. And these are state senators.
When we show these, we're assuming that these will be the
and this is because they already voted on this once, and the people who voted against it got voted out. So we're probably going to see this come right back and get pushed through, because the people of Indiana,
I agree.
I mean, they saw this and they said, nope, we're tired of this. We want a red Indiana.
I agree with you, Jeff. I think the map on the right is the map that was rejected last year, and I think it's probably going to be accepted this year after the new state legislature takes office.
Right. And then
I bring that up because somebody posted, I don't know if you had it on your list of things. You don't have to keep showing that one, but some liberal guy had posted, oh, this is what they're proposing. And he didn't change any of the lines.
Oh yeah, we're going to get to that one. I've got
okay.
that one later because it's really, really funny, just absolutely delusional.
Mm-hmm.
But here is the new, and this one has been passed. The new Tennessee House passed the new 2026 congressional redistrict map. And look at that map. It is all red.
Glorious red.
Glorious red. And you can see, I mean, Tennessee really only has 2 or 3 major cities that go blue. Of course, you've got Nashville down there in the bottom, and you can see it's cut 3 ways. And then you've got the capital right there in the middle. It's cut 4 different ways. And this is, not racial gerrymandering. This is political boundary gerrymandering. It's a red state, and they decided, you know what? No more blue House seats. And so this is the new Tennessee map. And this is what we're going to be voting on in the midterms. This is what that's going to look like. They're not going to lose any seats to the Democrats. It's just not going to happen. And we've got some very interesting stuff going on in Utah, too. So Utah has 1 blue district. And you can see right here, it's right on Salt Lake City, just right there up in the middle. And there is this proposed map that people are proposing. And, it was proposed, voted on, and then maybe not voted on. I don't know the exact procedure in Utah. But it was going forward, and then the Supreme Court came down and put a kibosh on the thing. Well, now, Supreme Court Justice Diana Hagan announces her resignation from the court. She's the one who voted in favor of the new Utah map that gave Democrats this seat right here in Salt Lake City. Well, this is, potential Utah map if the new map gets thrown out or overturned. So the map gives them a seat. The new map does. The old map gave them no seat. Well, this justice who found in their favor, now she has resigned. Why? Well, she resigned because she allegedly had an affair with a lawyer who was working on the redistricting.
You can't make this stuff up.
So this lady, I mean, how is she supposed to be an unbiased arbiter when she's literally in bed with one side of the dispute? I mean, that's
there
absurd.
are serious prohibitions. There are serious prohibitions on judges having romantic relationships with lawyers practicing before the court. Especially without accusing themselves. I would not be at all surprised to see this judge not only kicked off the bench. Well, she's already resigned from the bench, but I would not be at all surprised to see her disbarred for this.
Yeah, and this ruling that she made will almost certainly be overturned now because it's clear that she was doing it. She was doing it with bias. She was doing it with ulterior motives. And so we're going to see almost certainly Utah switch back from having this 1 blue district to, again, having 4 red districts with no blue at all around the Salt Lake City area. So, yeah, this is, the redistricting wars continue. And this is one that I'm very interested in because South Carolina, we have friends from South Carolina who brought this to my attention. The new 7-0 Republican map distributed on the South Carolina House floor. So they're still voting on this. This one hasn't gone through. But Congressman Cleburne could be thrown out of his seat. And it actually makes districts more competitive. So it's not just a naked right-wing power grab. This is actually coming from a nonpartisan, unbiased group who's actually doing a very good job of being nonpartisan and unbiased. Trying to give people what they want. So you see that map there, and this is, OSZ, open source. This is their opine on it. They say, barring judicial intervention, South Carolina's primary elections will be delayed, and the congressional lines will be redistricted per Fitz News. And the potential new map is Republicans 7, Democrats 0. And it would draw out Representative Jim Cleburne. So he would not be voted out. He would simply be chairman of a district that no longer exists. So he loses his seat in Congress just because it's gone. sorry, my guy, but it does not exist anymore. So, and I mean, when you look at this, I mean, you can see a little bit of wavy lines here. There's a little bit of a crab leg coming in there, but this map doesn't look overall unfair.
There's a lot of different reasons. Sorry to interrupt, but there's a lot of different reasons that could be. One of the traditional interests involved in redistricting is keeping county lines intact. You don't want to cut district lines across counties, typically. So if you have counties that are irregularly shaped, you're typically going to have districts that are irregularly shaped as well.
Right, right. And then also topography plays a role as well.
Yeah.
You'll often have things running along river lines and ridge lines because people actually demographically and just geographically break along those same river and ridge lines. Right. So, yeah, fantastic stuff we're seeing in South Carolina. Love to see it. Looks extremely fair. And, Jim Cleburne loses his seat. I believe it's actually pronounced Clyburn, but
yeah, I was going to say this
matter.
is not the Irish general here.
Do not care. But
somebody give me the world's tiniest fiddle, please.
Yeah. I saw this map. This is not even a proposed map. This is just somebody playing around on MS Paint. He drew this map of what Texas could look like. And he says Texas Republicans could easily draw a 34-4 map that eliminates another 4 Democratic seats from the state.
Oh, I love
Speaking of computers, if you try hard enough, you can probably make the necessary changes for this map to survive every statewide election from the et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, I mean, you could make this solid. But the point that I made was, hey, Skippy Petro and I could be in the same district. And that's a bit of a joke because I'm here a bit north of Austin. And he's way out here in the Permian Basin, and you can see these lines just dragging way out over there.
Shoot, me and you might be in the same district.
Yeah, I mean, it's wild how they've cut this. But according to the Supreme Court ruling, this is not racially districted. It is just party line districted, which the Supreme Court says is the purview of the voters. So that's perfectly legal. This is a literal, potentially feasible map that we could do. It's just a matter of will. And in that same vein, we see this guy says if Michigan removes the racially gerrymandered districts, this is how Michigan's congressional districts would look. And this is his draw up of what that looks like. Of course, the UP, all 15 people in the UP would be one district. Well, actually,
we have been forever.
Yeah, a little bit of one side of the UP, it looks like it's thrown into District 8 here, which, this part of Michigan, not highly populated either. But, if you redistrict this, according to the Supreme Court, I mean, you're going to have a lot of these states redistricting anyway. And what do you see here? Michigan goes from being a very blue map to all of a sudden a very red map with just Ann Arbor and Detroit thrown into one district together and the rest of Michigan left to their own devices. What do you know? They go red.
See, and I think from a realpolitik standpoint, like that's really the best way to do it is just encircle those spots. So, Jeff, for me and you, it'd be like Austin, Dallas, those kind of areas. Yeah. And just say, okay, here's your little district. Here's your representative that you get every single time that's heavily blue. And then, the rest of it is just all red.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing, Sean, is you're more a fan of packing than of cracking.
Yeah. Yeah.
I am.
And,
I just like when the good guys win and the bad guys lose. I mean, I know it's inconsistent to believe that, but
it's not at all. Now, I do have 2 pushbacks on this Michigan map, and I say this as someone who grew up in Michigan. Sure. First of all, Michigan's districts are not actually racially gerrymandered. What they are designed to do is crack the white vote. And they draw a whole bunch of districts down into that Detroit, the southeast Michigan area there. You see a map in Michigan similar to the one you see in Virginia, where you have a bunch of districts radiating out from Detroit like spokes on a wheel, essentially, to put enough Democrats in there to swing the district blue. But the thing of it is, those districts are not drawn to be majority minority. In fact, they're not majority minority necessarily. They are drawn to be Democrat. So Michigan is actually politically gerrymandered, not racially gerrymandered. And you're never going to see this map in Michigan because right now Michigan has a Democrat trifecta in their government.
And they're not going to allow something like that to ever happen. Right.
So this is something that could potentially happen if Michigan ever gets a Republican state legislature and a Republican governor again. You could see this happen, and this is actually a very good representation of how the state actually votes. But this is the power of political gerrymandering right here. Michigan has a Democratic government, even though it is by all other metrics actually a red state.
Yeah, and this is the current map as we see it, and this makes much more sense. North Michigan and the UP all in one district because there really isn't the population to split that district around. This is a little bit of a pipe dream on this guy's part, but yeah, I mean, if Michigan miraculously got a Republican trifecta in, we could see redistricting that could turn it into a permanent red state. I mean, I was telling Samuel before the show, when I was up in Michigan visiting family a couple years ago, I saw more rebel flags in Michigan than I saw in the Midwest on my way there. I mean, these people are very conservative. Of course, I was not anywhere near Detroit. I was in the fingers of Michigan, up toward the top and in the middle. And, these people are very conservative, but they're ruled over by Ann Arbor and Detroit. And, many such cases. I mean, they're not the only state that has that problem. In Texas, like Sean said, we've got, San Antonio, Austin, Dallas, Houston that are all very blue. And we're going to have blue congressional districts in those areas. We can pack them to try and make their effect on the areas around them less, but it's going to be very hard, if not impossible, to actually crack them.
And as far as packing and cracking goes, packing does work when you have a sufficient number of that kind of person in a sufficiently small and contiguous area to actually make a rational district. Like this district you see here on the Michigan map, that's a relatively small area, relatively contiguous, and it would actually work as a rational, reasonable district. If you look at the map of Louisiana, you have two districts stretching northwest to southeast, all the way across the state. In some of those places, those districts are barely wider than the interstate. So
probably not even any houses in them.
Right. You can't tell me that Baton Rouge and Shreveport are part of the same area, right?
Really? Well, it's that thin.
Yes.
Baton Rouge and Shreveport?
Yes, they're in the same district.
No kidding.
That's wild.
Yeah. So that's the kind of racial gerrymandering that has been being done throughout the South, partly because earlier interpretations of Section 2 of the Civil Rights Act focused on the opportunity to elect a representative of their choice. And so the states determined that if we don't give Black people Black representation in their areas, right, if we don't have enough majority minority districts, we're going to run afoul of the courts because of noncompliance with Section 2 of the Civil Rights Act. And that's what this Calais case just overturned.
Right.
Yeah, you weren't kidding, dude. I'm looking at the map right now. New Orleans, Baton Rouge, and Shreveport are all one.
They're actually two different.
Or no, maybe I'm sorry. No, that is
two. Louisiana's in one district, and then Baton Rouge and Shreveport are in the other.
I don't know if this shows up well, but it's. I mean, look, that's only two districts. That
wild.
Big old line right there. Is that following like the Red River, or what? What is that trying to?
It's following the area with the greatest concentration of Black people in Louisiana.
Okay, I wasn't sure because sometimes that's geographical for for historical.
In this case, it's not at all because the Red River. I mean, the Red River doesn't follow that line. I mean, it's just.
Yeah, I'm trying to think.
I mean, it is wild the way that they've cut these things up. But anyhow, moving on to what are the ramifications for this redistricting? You know, if we get rid of the racial gerrymandering and we just go back to good old clean party gerrymandering, you know, get the race out of my politics. I just want to politic in peace, right? What are the consequences for that? And we've got a couple of different opinions on how things could look. And I've used Open Source Zone a couple times in this show. That's not necessarily endorsement of them. They're just, as far as I know, it's one guy on a computer just kind of spitballing on what he thinks things could look like. But this is his crystal ball 2026 House rating after the Virginia redistricting got struck down. And he's kind of showing where these districts are and how they voted in the last election. This isn't necessarily how they're going to vote in this election, but this is what it very well could look like, with the current. And you're not seeing a lot of toss-ups across this map. I mean, you can see he's got 16 toss-ups, 208 Democrat that he's called, 211 Republican. That's still a Republican majority.
Unless the Democrats win enough of the toss-ups.
Yeah, unless all those toss-ups go to the Democrats. So, I mean, it really could go a couple of different ways.
I will say that map is wrong, at least in Alabama, because if the court allows Alabama to use the map they're wanting to use in the wake of the Calais case, because Alabama, like Louisiana, the only blue districts in Alabama were racially gerrymandered on purpose. Mm-hmm. But the new maps that we're trying to use would eliminate one out of the two blue districts in Alabama. So
yeah, and then this one here is another map, and it's ever so slightly different, but a lot of the same numbers. Republicans just take a couple more seats, and this is kind of how he's forecasting it. This would be Republicans 217, Democrats 207, toss-up of 11. You can see Alabama there still has the old districting, the way that it's set up. But, here's some forecasting from Morse report. He says Republicans are dominating the redistricting war. Got a little slop siren there for us. And this is what has been confirmed. California plus 5 Democrat seats, Utah plus 1 Democrat. We saw the plus 5 Democrats in California earlier. We saw the plus 1 Democrat in Utah. Like I said, that could be thrown out.
I think Florida, the plus 5 Democrats in California could be thrown out too, because it's obvious that by their own statements, they were racially gerrymandering.
Yeah. I mean, they were not making any kind of secret of it.
A couple of things on that with California in particular. So growing up, I first got really into politics around the 2004 presidential election. And the Bush and Kerry split was, Kerry was only winning the counties that are like a very thin line on the coast. Like the entire Central Valley was dark red. What is that, like that Death Valley kind of area, I want to say, on the border of Arizona there, even that was red.
Great Basin?
All of the that might, I forget exactly what part of this, but basically like a lot of those parts of the like the Inland Empire in Southern California, like I want to say Orange County is historically very red.
Famously.
So there's even that has changed a lot, but California recently, because so many people left, I know they lost a seat, right? Like just based on population. So how are they getting a plus 4, plus 5, whatever the number was?
By redistricting certain Republican Congress critters out of their seats, replacing them with Democrats.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's clearly in that proposed one, because you could see that like Northern California, like non-coastal Northern California is very red. They're clearly just trying to grab up some of those areas. I mean, that's so that's
they
like
are obviously splitting that up quite intentionally.
Yeah, I mean that's like Serbian type redistricting.
Yeah, I mean it looks kind of like Croatia, right? I'm going to grab the beach line real quick. I'll take that beach. You don't need it.
Yeah. If I may, I'd like to talk a little more about the philosophy of redistricting.
Yeah.
Racial redistricting is out in the wake of Calais. But I think the growing consensus among both parties and pretty much all the courts is that when you have political power up for grabs in an electoral system, as a general rule, people who want power are going to compete for it, and they are going to use every tool at their disposal to get it. And when you have an electoral system that elects a winner-take-all representative by district, political gerrymandering is absolutely inevitable.
Yeah,
It's
and you
not
can't
going
get
to-
away from it.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it was Clausewitz who said politics is war by other means.
Right.
And this goes back to my point earlier about how we have been bringing chessmen to a street fight, because we don't understand that politics is war by other means. And so we've not been fighting this war. And what we're seeing right now in this redistricting war, aptly named, is we have been idealistic about redistricting for a long time. You see this in Indiana, where the principled conservatives, TM, refuse to vote to district out Democrats because no, we just don't do that. We draw districts that are contiguous and compact and have a rational basis in everything but partisan politics. But this just isn't realistic. You know, if you're going to win in politics, you're going to use all legal means available. And gerrymandering is a legal means. It is unequivocally legal. So
since the founding, as the name implies.
Right,
yeah.
Right. So you see these maps, and the reaction to the proposed map is like, yeah, there's no reason that people on the far end of that district have the same interests, the same genetics, the same views as people on the other end of that district. There's no rational reason they should be in that district. That's a bad district. That's the reaction, right? But it's like, well, how else are you going to allocate political power between the parties? This is how a partisan political process works. And this is actually one of the reasons I kind of don't like democracy, but it's
because it necessitates this kind of behavior.
This kind of behavior. Exactly. So this is going to be the new normal going forward. You're going to see more and more gerrymandering. You're going to see it get more and more contentious, and it's just going to keep on going until it all falls apart.
Yeah. And as we see, California and Utah are the only two states that go positive to Democrats. On the other hand, we've got Florida +4 Republicans. That has been challenged in court. We'll see how that goes. Missouri +1 Republican. North Carolina +1 Republican. Ohio +2 Republicans. Texas +5 Republicans total. +6 Democrats. +14 Republicans. So there's a clear winner there. These are
if I can jump in real quick about the Florida court challenge. Under the Calais case, Florida has an excellent chance of winning, I think, because in the Calais case, they not only said that racial redistricting was wrong or was illegal, they also instituted a new standard for how you win a racial gerrymander challenge. And that is that if the challenger to the redistricting map can prove that race was the predominant factor in redistricting, then they can successfully challenge the redistricting. So in order for the challengers to show that Florida's map is illegal, they have to show that Florida purposefully drew their districts that way predominantly to dilute their votes. And I just don't think they can do that here.
Yeah. And then these are the ones that are pending. Alabama +1 Republican, and then he gives a percentage chance on this. He gives out a 62% chance, just better than a toss-up. Louisiana +2 Republicans, and this is the map that Sean showed us on his phone, where it's just this wild blue streak across a red state. +2 Republicans, potential 94% chance. And I'd agree with that assessment. There's just no way that, as Samuel pointed out, why does Shreveport and it wasn't Nolans. What was the
Baton Rouge?
Baton Rouge. Baton Rouge and Shreveport. I mean, what hath Shreveport to do with Baton Rouge? Right. Mississippi +1 Republican. He gives that one a slim chance. Tennessee +1 Republican, 83% chance. Virginia +4 Democrats. He gives that a 65% chance of getting overturned. And that has been overturned. There are challenges to it, but we're just this is old news. This is old information. It's been overturned, and it's not going to be resolved before the election. Likely total outcome with these figures that he's posted: +6 Democrats, +18 Republicans. And that's not even counting the Virginia one. I mean, it's going to look very good for Republicans in the midterms. Essentially, what we've got going on is Republicans are competitive in the midterms, which is very difficult. You know, presidents usually lose power in the midterms. They usually come in on a sweep. And this is just kind of the way voting works. More people vote in a presidential election than a midterm. Presidents usually win by a margin, sometimes larger, sometimes smaller, but it's usually enough of a margin that they take the House and Senate. They get this mandate to rule. They go in, they do a bunch of stuff. People get ticked off. And then in the midterms, the opposing party has more momentum. The ruling party, the voters don't get out. They feel lazy. They feel lax. The opposing party has all of the momentum, all of the ground game. They go in and they can't get the presidency, but in the midterm, they get the House and Senate back. So we very likely could see a midterm where the ruling party holds power, which is unusual. I won't say rare, but it's unusual. Typically, you see it go the other way.
It hasn't happened for a Republican president since Reagan, to my knowledge.
It's been a while. It has been a while. So, well, before we get into the last part of what I've got to show, which is a lot of memes and a couple of political theory discussions, I want to hit comments because I've been letting these go for a while.
Yeah, we got quite a few.
But T. James Boone says, the lobster district really bugs me. I see what you're doing there, my guy. I see what you're doing. Ben Mordecai says, rules are set. You compete according to the rules. Exactly. That's exactly right. You know, the rules on gerrymandering exist. Gerrymandering is a thing. If you refuse to do it like Indiana senators did, you just lose. You're saying, okay, I'm sitting down to a game. I know how the rules work, but I'm just not going to do that because that's mean. Well, the rules are the rules. Either you play by the rules or you lose. T. James Boone says, Ben Mordecai, that's not principled. Yeah, exactly. It's like, but that gives me the hurty feels. Check for Tunnels, Saltine, says, no, that is principled, so you lose to the opponent who lacks principles. See, I'm the better person. I'm the beautiful loser because, you know, I had principles. We see where that's gotten us. John C. Barsoon says, I think we need to draw districts in such a way that blacks are only ever represented and governed by their own people. And he might have self-interested reasons for wanting that, but, you know, I know a lot of African Americans who would agree with you. You know,
he has a comment. He has a comment later on that I think bolsters this. That I would have something to say on. So I'll wait for that.
Check for Tunnel says, was just thinking the same thing as Sean. You go full populist in abortion by head count, or apportion,
not abortion.
Apportion. Sorry, my cursor was over it. I mean, if you look at the way that congressional districts were originally districted, the population per district was much, much lower than it is now. Of course, the population of the United States was much lower than it is now. And somebody was saying, hey, you know, if we did it by the original head count per district, you know, it would be like 5,000 congressmen. They would have to meet in a Super Bowl stadium. And I was just kind of thinking to myself, I don't dislike that. You know,
that might be a good way of that might be a good way of making it so they can never do anything again.
For one thing, but I mean, with electronic voting, you just give them a clicker and they push the button yes or no. I mean, it's very doable. It's just a question of will. Do we have the will?
I do have to say that 5,000 is more like a third of a hockey arena. Like 5,000 is not a lot of people.
I don't remember what the original number was.
It was I think it was north of 30,000.
Yeah, it was a wildly large number of congressional seats. And,
so we're talking like a small ballpark then. At that point.
Something like that. Anyhow, T. James Boone says the main reason I reject the snapshot view of representation is because it would inevitably include Democrats and numbskulls by definition. So yeah, you got to.
Yeah, but Democrat isn't part of the snapshot thing, like you were saying. Like the snapshot thing is based on demographics, not.
Well, it leaves the door open to all varieties of divisions. However you want to split people up.
Mm-hmm,
if you use the snapshot view of representation, it's
Why
got to look
we do
like
it?
it's got to be a snapshot of. So you're going to have a certain number of Republican men, certain number of Democrat men, certain number of Republican women, certain number of Democrat women, and so forth.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah. Sir Vilder says, if you can change the rules at any time, then the rules aren't set. Yeah, well, you can't change the rules at any time. You have to, there's a procedure for it. I mean, you can start the process at any time, typically, for most organizations, but, you have to follow a process.
Well,
and that
I mean,
if
the rules are that once you're in power, you can change the rules, then, I mean, those are still
the
rules.
Yeah,
there's still rules.
You can't say it's not, the rules aren't
fluid.
set. Well, the rules still are set. Yeah. I mean, the rules are the rules, and you have to play by the rules. Hate the game, not the player. So John C. Barstow says, our house is 2/3 children, but I don't allow them to make 2/3 of the decision. I mean,
tyrant.
Yeah, you're a bad person, John.
Monarchy for the win.
You're not a good Democrat, John. I can't believe you.
I'm telling you, monarchy wins every time.
T. James Boone says, snapshot theory applying to only demographics versus applying to political views ends up being a distinction without much useful difference. And that's what Samuel was getting to is, it leaves the door open, and that's the inevitable next step. Because once those rules are in place, then it's just, well, what is the logical outcome that you see here? And he says either one results in numbskulls and Democrats being elected. Well, in a democracy, you're going to have numbskulls get elected periodically anyway, if for no other reason by accident. And John C. Barson, this follow-up. He says race-based redistricting versus political redistricting. As soon as you introduce more than one race, this becomes a distinction without a difference.
And this was my
hard
point.
Hard disagree on that. Because
where do you disagree on that?
Because you can redistrict for political power. Race-based redistricting is not just any redistricting that takes race into account. Okay, race-based redistricting is redistricting with the intention of having a district with a particular racial makeup. Okay. So what you have here in the South, which has been mandated by a couple decades of lower court opinions, excuse me, on Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, is you have districts that are being drawn specifically for the purpose of including a majority of Black citizens. Mm-hmm. That is very different from the redistricting or the district drawing you see in Michigan, for example, where the primary consideration is increasing the power of the Democratic Party. And to do that, they'll include whatever racial composition they have to get that numerical result. So race-based redistricting is a completely different animal from political redistricting.
I don't think it's a completely different animal. I could see how there's, at least on paper, there's some difference. But what
you see in Virginia, for example, you see in Virginia, for example, Fairfax County is not a majority Black county, but it is 82% leftist. It is a predominantly white area that is overwhelmingly liberal because of the proximity to Washington, D.C. So Virginia's political gerrymandering has nothing to do with race at all. It has to do with political persuasion. So you're taking voters that vote left and packing them or cracking them among districts in such a way as to maximize the number of districts that have a left voting majority. And it doesn't matter what race they are as long as they vote left.
So I guess my counterpoint to that is you could look at cities like St. Louis, right? Depending on which side of the freeway you're on, you're in white St. Louis or black St. Louis, right? Mm-hmm. Like that's just what I'm told.
With two very distinct cultures in St. Louis.
Yeah, I haven't.
Absolutely, this is true.
I've never been there, but that's what they say, right? I could even say the city boundary that is right up the road here. That is a huge thing, to the point where they redrew the redrew the public school lines, the school district lines, so that it would force my side of the street to blend in with their side of the street. And like, so they do that because they're like, well, obviously the black population is going to be different from the white population. Now that's a very clear distinction, right? In some ways, I know like racially there's, maybe with Hispanic and black, it's not as, maybe there's a little bit of wiggle room in there, or like white and Asian, maybe there's a little bit of wiggle room in there.
Here in the South, like, I don't know what all the rest of the South is like, but here in Alabama, the political parties are, by and large, primarily racial composition. There are some white Democrats here in Alabama, but I think Donald Trump won north of 90% of Alabama's white vote in 2024. So the political parties here in Alabama are primarily racial in nature. So to that extent, our comment holds water, right? You can't politically gerrymander Alabama without it also impacting people along racial lines. But you can politically gerrymander Alabama without primarily doing it to make sure black people don't have a voice.
Yeah.
You can politically gerrymander Alabama primarily to send more Republicans to Congress. And if that means that black people don't elect black representatives, that's a byproduct.
Yeah, it's not the focus of it. It is simply the outcome.
Right.
I guess
so you can go at it. You can arrive there without necessarily making it your destination when you start it.
Well, and it's also going to depend on the part of the country that you're in, I guess, would be another.
Right.
Yeah, right.
That's true. So I guess what he's saying is that sometimes, like in places like Alabama, you can draw a fairly hard line and say this is it. But then places like Virginia, you have so many white liberals that it's not as racially down the middle.
Well, the thing is this: if you did not gerrymander Alabama at all, if you did not draw lines based on gerrymanders at all, you would get 0 Democrat districts in Alabama.
Yeah. Right.
That's not gerrymandering. The racial gerrymander only works one way here, and that's because black people are 30% of our state's population, and they also vote 90% Democrat.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I get you, man. I guess, it's a matter of where in the country or what the exact situation is, but
well, we need to get to more of these comments. We could talk about this forever. But very good point from Sir Vilder. He says, I only want fairness when it benefits me.
That's right.
I believe what you're trying to say is, for my friends, everything, for my enemies, the law.
There you go.
Somebody once said. Chuck Fertell says, ironically, Constitution versus Articles did not amend the Articles.
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that relates to the fact that the Constitutional Convention was originally held to amend the Articles of Confederation and ended up replacing them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. He says, you're past the 1 hour mark and you haven't hit the comments again yet. Mistaken, you are, my good sir. We opened with comments and we did it for this very reason that often that does happen. But T. James Boone says, for all you panicans out there, you know who else is panicked? Virginia Dems.
I love the smell of Democratic panic in the morning.
Guys, look, this is guilt by association, and I don't appreciate it.
Yeah.
Sir Vola says, when a person from one party calls out another from that party, you know the one being called out really messed up. Well, when it's a Democrat, yes. I mean, you get whiny Republicans crying out in pain all the time.
Yeah.
It's just wild. And he says, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
That's right.
Yeah. That is often the case. I mean, the history of, I'm not a big NASCAR guy, but I do enjoy kind of the stories of NASCAR and F1, how the rules. I like the theory of racing even more than watching the race itself, because watching how people bend the rules and the mechanics involved, it's just very fun. And same is true with politics. I love the rule changing and, the fighting over minutiae in politics as much as the game itself. He says, if high-level politicians can submit important paperwork with spelling errors, I think I should get away with spelling error in my comment.
Excuse me, sir. You are not the Attorney General.
Yeah. And
or you
Sir
could
says,
pronounce that like Polly Walnuts, and it's the "Hey Tony General."
Hey, Tony General. Yeah. Sir Vilder talking about the map in Tennessee. He says, I see Knoxville got cut through ways also. Yeah. Stuff happens.
Crack 'em and pack 'em, baby.
Yeah. T. James Boone says, Jim Clyburn losing his seat couldn't happen to a nicer guy, lol. Yeah. I mean, I'm happy that this happened, if for no other reason that it gets him out of the Congress. Jocelyn Barsoom says, you should show the current Illinois map. It's worse than the Texas MS Paint fever dream. You know what? Yeah. I will do that. It is.
Yeah, it's
looks like a computer chip.
Yeah, I mean, let's see. It was 2025, I think, is when they redistricted, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, I need to put in that it is the federal congressional map.
Yeah, you're right, because this also happens at the state legislature level as well.
Yeah, I mean, it is. I'm trying to find the right map. Whenever you Google something, you never find the thing that you're looking for whenever you're under a time constraint. Let's see. That's state lawmakers. Well, I can't waste any more time on this, but suffice it to say, there's a lot of long fingers going down into South Illinois where you've got nothing but a bunch of really conservative dirt farmers hanging out.
You want to see a really crazy? You want to see a crazy map? Look at the city map of Fort Worth. That is an insane map. It just doesn't make sense, dude. They screw every single smaller city in this area, including mine.
Oh yeah, they do it on purpose. It was not an accident.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. TJ Barston says barely wider than the interstate. I thought for a minute you said barely whiter than the interstate. What do you call it when it's a Freudian slip, but it's what you heard, not what he said? T. James Boone says my kids are being loud and happy right now, so I'm not hearing everything correctly.
Good for you, man.
Good for you. Yeah, I mean that is a good problem to have. He says the rest of Louisiana barely shows up on the screen, but the blue stood out bold and clear. Yeah.
Now to reiterate, that was two districts, that blue line like that. Mm-hmm. But it's crazy that two districts look like that. The only two blue ones, according to that map, are these like ridiculous strips all the way across, like a seatbelt across the state.
And we got a live fact check in here. T. James Boone says it happened with George W. Bush. It never happened with Reagan because he never had the House. Is that right? Sense. Reagan never had the House in all 8 years?
Yeah, Reagan never did have the House of Representatives.
Yeah,
but this is actually correct. George W. Bush did gain the Senate in 2002. So I was incorrect that it hadn't happened since Reagan.
Was right after 9/11.
Yeah, it took an act of terror for him to be able to pull that off.
Yeah.
Well, I also did qualify with to my knowledge, and that was outside my knowledge, I guess. So
well, there you go.
There you go.
I do not recall.
A good lawyer always qualifies his statements.
Always leave yourself a way out.
Or I should say, a good lawyer usually qualifies his statement.
Allegedly qualifies his statement.
Allegedly. An allegedly good lawyer usually qualifies his statements sometimes.
If reasonable and prudent.
Ostensibly.
T. James Boone says, holding power through a midterm. Yeah, we got you. Appreciate it, man. T. James Boone, electronic voting would be so easily hackable, much more than paper, which is already hackable. All voting is hackable. And Samuel has a solution for that.
Yeah.
See our published works.
Yeah, see our published works. Yeah. Sir Vilder, white leftists who are ashamed of the color of their skin, something you cannot choose, boggles my mind. Well, when you go to an institution that teaches you for your entire life that you should be ashamed of something, it's really hard to break the programming. I mean, they are forced to do it. Literally at gunpoint. I mean, we literally forced people at gunpoint to go into these schools and imbibe this indoctrination. So can't really fault them too much. I mean, you can, but you know where it's coming from. T. James Booth says the main reason racial redistricting and political redistricting are significantly different is because a very large percentage of white people hate their own nation and heritage, as we just referenced. Yeah,
Right, correct. That was the main point of my disagreement with John Barsoom's comment about there being a distinction without a difference.
Right. Sam's interpreting my comment as the inverse of my intended meaning. Sorry. We'll have you on the show.
Maybe flesh that out, yeah. Because he then says, I'm
not denying the existence of white liberals. Yeah.
I wasn't thinking he was. I was just saying that political redistricting and racial redistricting are not, there's not a distinction without a difference because so many white people hate their own heritage.
Yeah.
But note that the opposite is not true.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
The Jada Geek says, what's the point of a rightward gerrymander if you still get Muslim cities and giant Hindu monkey demon statues?
I can tell you the point, and that is that if you get enough good people in good positions through these rightward gerrymanders, you can then do away with those things.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So if you are in a state that has gerrymandered the districts to be solidly red, and then you get enough good people on the Republican Central Committee, and you get enough good candidates, I mean, genuinely conservative, God-fearing candidates into the state legislature and into Congress, you can do away with those kinds of things. Yeah. Until then, if you don't gerrymander this, you're going to get more and more of them. So that's the point.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a long game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is. And John C. Barson says, in South Africa, voters are hackable, something we have to look forward to if all the gerrymandering is in service of its half measures. Yeah, I mean, the story's coming out of South Africa where they're just literally paying people outside of a polling station with cash. It's wild, but
coming soon to a theater near you.
I'm sorry, I thought he was making like a skinnies with machetes type joke. Is what I thought.
I took it as both.
Yeah, it's both. It is both. Yeah. All right. Well, let's get back into the topics. And last we were looking at this this proposed win. What it could look like in the midterms and why there's some reason to be positively hopeful. We refresh our minds with these numbers here. Plus 18 Republicans. And that's even before the Virginia stuff gets overturned. So there's reason to be hopeful. There's reason to be positive. And like I said in the title, a bloodbath, love to see it. But the left has a response. And their response is, let's murder you. Let's Charlie Kirk you. This is Austin McNamara. He says, allowing the Confederates and their lineage to survive was a mistake. And he's got these two pictures, this one with the blue districts and this one with the red districts. And after a little bit of scrutiny, there was something that Sean pointed out, actually. Sean, what was the observation you made here?
He didn't actually change any of the lines. At first, I thought it was he just didn't change some of the lines. But the more I looked, I was like, what lines did he change? And he just changed the color.
Yeah. This is not a redistricting map. This is just a people voting more conservative map.
Not only that, but the two blue districts in Louisiana are still blue.
Yeah. Note people notice. Yeah, I mean, and so here is the first map he puts. Here's the second. You can see the only difference is that people voted Republican. So this is not a redistricting fight. This is just a people voted Republican. And his response is, hey, we should genocide these people.
Which they tried.
We need to kill these people. Which
they did.
Which, by the way, they did.
Yeah.
They just didn't do it good enough. We're back. You didn't finish the job. You should have gone for the head.
They killed 6 million of us, but we keep coming up with new survivors every year.
That's right. But Middle Earth,
just
give
imagine.
him a follow. Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I think there's a lag a bit here.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, imagine the party that is all in favor of butchering children for convenience, being in favor of wiping out populations they don't like.
Man, I couldn't imagine. I couldn't imagine.
Things that make you
Yeah,
go.
but Middle Earth Mixer here, if y'all aren't following him, give him a follow. He's pretty good. And he says, when Democrats get done to them what they do to everyone else, they resort to murder fantasy. And as we talked about in a previous show, this is not murder fantasy. This is murder. Okay, they want to kill you. They want you dead. They want you broke and dead, your children raped and brainwashed, and they think it's funny. All right, they watch our show about the mission to 86 Trump. You know, they want to kill you. And it's not a fantasy. They want to do it actively. They're not fantasizing about it. They're plotting it. And the only thing holding them back is the fact that we are able to defend ourselves. And Sean, being the astute person he is, Sean, this is your meme. He said, I still can't believe this is a real person. Guys, this is his profile picture. Right?
Yeah, that's really him.
If we click on this, this is the gay boy himself. I mean,
Goodness.
His surname is McNamara, but he's not a very Irish-looking guy. He looks kind of like Trotsky. I mean, the round glasses aren't helping either. And, you know, Trotsky wasn't Irish either. So, but anyway, you put these words on here. You made this meme, and I thought it was very appropriate. You said, I want your people genocided. Offended? That's rich. And this is response to this down here. Every one of these loser Confederate defenders in my mentions has been dead silent on Palestine, Lebanon, ...
Yeah,
Shut up,
etc.
gay boy. Offended? That's rich. What about all the people on the other side of the world getting genocided? Yeah, I want to genocide you, but you don't feel bad for people that my cousins are genociding.
Yeah.
What's wrong with you, man?
Why aren't you just constantly posting about every single genocide across the world? Checkmate, guy who doesn't want to get genocided. Got you on that one. Like, come on, dude.
No, murder is bad. I know this is news to you
it.
because you're pro-abortion, you want Trump dead, and you celebrate the murder of Charlie Kirk, and you want all of us raped and brainwashed and killed. But no, murder is bad, and you are a bad person. Of course, he's not listening to the show, but people, don't forget. Never forget that these people want you dead. Okay? Not theoretically, not in a fantasy. Literally, they want you dead. Okay? And this is just a funny that I saw, so I wanted to share it. Patrick Casey is sharing Elections Joe. It's Jover, guys. Pack it up. Republicans win control of the government forever. We tried. We lost. The bad guys always win in the end. Patrick Casey just been saying, guys, hey, they're not taking this well. Yeah, we're happy. You know, Zachary, Dom, and I talking about the redistricting war. It's going to be a major win for Republicans. Yeah. Hey, it feels good to win. Are you tired of winning yet? Samuel, are you tired of winning?
I am not tired of winning yet. Jeff.
Well, I guess we'll just have to
win.
win. We'll just have to win some more. And this is a bit of a meme, but I thought worth sharing as well. Harry Sisson, the completely manufactured Democrat, young Gen Z kid. If Virginia can't have their maps, then other blue states need to step up, eliminate all of the Republican seats like they're doing to us. And Matt Vance Wool says, brother, this is an actual district in Chicago. Guys,
that's insane,
look at this. And Sam, you were pointing out earlier, what's the observation you made earlier?
Oh, it's not even contiguous. If you look on the west end of it, it's essentially two different regions that, again, boils down to about the width of a public road on the west end. Yeah. One of the traditional criteria for drawing legislative districts is contiguous territory. You know, non-contiguous districts like this have traditionally been eschewed as much as possible. So this is a very obvious power play by Democrats to gerrymander districts in their own favor.
Yeah, and in a place like Chicago where that shouldn't even be necessary.
Right.
Yeah. You've even got a city streets with like that little cove in the like southeast part of it.
Where
they cut out like 3 neighborhoods.
Yeah, it's literally,
what is that?
You can see it's literally 3 city blocks that they just drop out of the map for whatever reason. You know, you've got a couple of people who won't vote Democrat in that neighborhood. So they're like, okay, we're going to cut you out of it. Yeah, it's wild. It's man. It's absolutely wild.
it's like an alien from Space Invaders or something, man. Like that's how crazy this thing is.
Yeah, and this is Rothmus, who you should also give a follow. Rothmus posted this, which is, reminder, even though nearly half of New England is conservative or Republican, Democrats have gerrymandered the GOP to 0 House seats in the entire region. Yeah, I mean, Michigan, New Hampshire, Vermont, these places have very strong Second Amendment affiliation. Maine. I'm sorry, guys. Michigan's we were talking about Michigan earlier. Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire. Massachusetts, I'm less familiar with. Connecticut's pretty blue. I don't know anything about Rhode Island. But, I mean, guys, is there really no conservative representation? And I remember seeing the numbers, and Rothmus didn't post it in his post, but some other people did. Maybe it's down here in the comments if we scrolled, but I won't have time enough to find it. But Maine is like 46% Republican, if I'm remembering right, something like that.
Yeah,
that's nearly half. And somehow they have 0 Republican representation. That's obviously.
Well, it looks like it's only 2 districts. So I mean,
it is only 2 districts. Yeah,
because
it's conceivable
the population is just so low.
But in their presidential elections, they split their state, right? In Maine.
I think when they get to the college, they might assign
some of it. Yeah, like some of it comes out.
Some of these
presidential
states
elections
do
for sure.
That where they assign the college delegates according to representation.
The majority vote in representative districts. Yes.
Yeah.
So New Hampshire to me is very interesting. First of all, because my wife is from there. And so I actually know the area fairly well. But also, New Hampshire is traditionally or it has been for many years, the first. Oh, what is it first in the presidential elections? They're always the first state in the primaries.
Yeah, the first primary.
Okay, yeah.
What do they call that? There's a word for it. But it's the first state to primary. And the reason that both parties agreed to it is because they believed that was the most neutral ground that they could agree on. But New Hampshire, for whatever reason, has just become heavy blue over the last couple election cycles. So it's just really caucus. Is that the word I'm looking for? The New Hampshire caucus?
No, that's the Iowa caucuses. The Iowa caucus happened before the New Hampshire primary.
Is it?
Yeah,
I thought Iowa might have been the first, but
Iowa's not a primary, so New Hampshire still has the first presidential primary.
I see. Yeah, I have been to Iowa several times. I love Iowans; they're great people. The caucus is stupid. You should get rid of it. I don't understand it. I don't like it. Maybe it's Chesterton's fence, but I think tear that thing down. But anyway. Sure. This was a very astute post from Byron Sauvé. He says, I oppose bad people gerrymandering so that bad people can hold political power. I support good people gerrymandering so that more good people can hold political power. This, just applied to basically any lawful political pursuit, is how I think about politics, by the way. Yeah, I mean, he's got a point. It's like we said earlier, for my friends, everything. For my enemies, the law. And, them's the rules, play by the rules, and use the rules to oppose your enemies anytime you can. It's just the smart thing to do.
And quit bringing chess men to a street fight.
Right. And this has been the memes have been great. Virgin gerrymander versus Chad gerrymander. The Republicans plus 17, Democrats plus 6. They're doing everything they can, and they just can't. They just can't hack it. Really, the reason is because they already did. They're trying to squeeze blood out of a turnip. They've already got everything they can out of the gerrymander. And we, on the other hand, we're just getting started. So be positive, folks. Good things coming. This is unrelated, but I thought appropriate. Democrats voted unanimously to not require the removal of dead people from Minnesota's voter rolls last night. Why would anyone oppose
11.
This?
I recognize a member from Olmsted, Representative Quam.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. This is just to require the full removal of deceased people from the voters' rolls. And if before you ask, well, nobody deceased is voting, the federal system at SSA has checked registrations and has flagged deceased people registering in the state of Minnesota. It's not a huge thing, but let's take care of it by cleaning up the roll. Oregon is doing it and other states are doing it. So it's not an unusual thing to do. Let's just vote green.
And what do you know? All the Democrats voted against it. Why would they do that? Why would they do that? See all these red dots here. These are the people who voted against it. Why would they do that? Surely it's not because they're all aware of the rampant cheating that always goes only one way.
But Samuel, how would we fix this?
Dead people on the voter rolls?
Yeah, how would we go about fixing that?
Well, I mean, you could, eliminate the voter rolls, I guess.
There you go. That's what I was looking for.
Man, it's like he's got a solution to every problem.
I mean, it would solve so many political problems. It really would.
Yeah,
but,
crazy.
It's not in the cards at this point, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and this is, again, unrelated, but kind of funny. We'll let this play.
Scott Black. He's running for mayor of Las Vegas. And here's his billboards all over Las Vegas. Vote Black for mayor. Normally that'd be okay. But look who he's running against. And this gets worse. He's running against Darnell White and Jerome Mayo. This is Scott Black.
So the black guy's running against a white guy in a mayonnaise. Yeah. But he's a white guy.
And of course, he's got to be... things like this always crack me up, where it's like, hey, guys, make sure that you see my Mario Lemieux jersey and my Elvis Presley jacket, so that
my
you know
Wolverine
that
comics.
Yeah, that I'm a cool, everyday guy.
Yeah, well, I'm just glad that we're above, repping the cool stuff behind you.
That's
when
right.
You're doing your show.
Empty egg cartons and battle flags and whatnot.
We have not a winter storm, but a hailstorm outside where I'm at. So if my internet suddenly cuts out, that's what's going on. But with that said, let's finish off with this. Mostly people jawbone enthusiasts. Right. Give this guy a follow. That's Rhett Koppel, good old dude. He says 2 images posted without comment. And on the left there, we've got the mask of Robert E. Lee as it's being melted down.
That's the pin I'm wearing today. If you want to show that, if you want to show me on screen, this is a Days Volt.
Let's full screen that
lapel pin here.
Yeah, and this one's pretty cool because it also glows in the dark. I don't know if it would come up on camera if Sean tried to do that. And it would be
I'd have to put it up by a light bulb again. And but I love this pin, man. This is
it's absolutely fantastic. Go to Days Volt lapel pins. He's got it on there. It's beautiful. But as that one guy said, we should have genocided the children of the Confederates. Well, our guys are noticing it too. The Southern gentleman is the last holdout against moral insanity in the United States of America. We are holding this thing together. And if we go, the whole thing goes.
I will say, I will add the comment to what he's showing there. Everyone, if you've watched this show for any amount of time, I love my battle flags. Right now, you can't see this particular one over here, but you can see my Third National over here. There we go. Now you can see it right behind my Stratocaster. Love me some Confederate history, Confederate symbolism. I was not that guy until that moment that he showed right there when they started tearing down the statues. And I said, you know what? I need to see what this is all about. And then that's when I started reading about the war and about the political philosophy behind it. And then that's when I looked into my lineage and found a Confederate ancestor. So that was the order of things. If they had not touched those statues, I would not be the man that I am today. They are the ones who radicalized me on that. And I'm glad that they did. Yeah, you created this. This is all you statue tear down people. And then
Yeah.
like the victory lap right there. Like that's why this imagery is so powerful, is because they intended it as a victory lap. They didn't say it, but they were just like, oh, look at us like we cut out just the face so that we could show you this video of the face melting. And that was literally the moment that I became radicalized, was when they started tearing that down. I think it was, there were statues before that, but I remember that the Robert E. Lee one was kind of late in the game compared to some of the other statues that came down first.
All right. Well, with that said, let's get into comments. John C. Barsum again says, all racial redistricting is political redistricting. That's simple as I can make it. Racial differences are political differences. Yes, but all bottlenose are dolphins, but not all dolphins are bottlenose.
Oh,
right. All racial redistricting is political, but not all. Yeah.
As he says.
Yeah. Exactly.
Race is
Johan
political.
Gervais says South Africa mentioned voter fraud. Yes. South Africa mentioned. Oh no, they're talking about South Africa.
Yeah.
Mi brother, I'm so sorry for you.
Skip this next Serviller comment.
All right. All right. Let's see. Serviller says, I can say for certain there are conservatives in New Hampshire because they gave us ice cream when they were flying through for a deployment.
Yeah. My in-laws are in New Hampshire and they're very conservative. I mean, it's not like they don't exist. My point being that
you're going to find conservatives in every American state, and you're going to find Democrats in every American state. That was kind of the point that Sean was bringing up about the radical next door, that we aren't bifurcated. We haven't self-selected ourselves into like and kind in areas. Now, after 2016, there was a lot of that happened just naturally, where red people moved to red states and blue people left red states, especially with the abortion bans. But I think we're seeing a lot of that being undone because the good economies in the red states are also attracting blue people because they got to work jobs too, even though they're going to vote for things that cause chaos and bring destruction. I mean...
And unfettered immigration too. People are moving into. There's a lot of population fluidity right now with people coming into this country and moving all over.
Yeah. T. James Boone says Maine and Nebraska are the only states that split their electoral votes. That's right. I remember Nebraska. Each has one district that typically votes the opposite of the rest of the state. They typically cancel each other out. Yeah, Nebraska is a really weird state because it's in the Midwest, and the Midwest is very conservative. And then Nebraska has this really large blue area inside of it. It's
Kansas-Nebraska Act. That explains it, bro. I'm telling you, that's the reason, man.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. And then T. James Boone says caucus is better than primary, and he says get rid of primaries. Well,
just get rid of democracy, bro.
Yeah,
burn it all down.
You're going to have to explain how they work first because I just don't like them.
That's the point. They're not supposed to.
Yeah,
it's just supposed to be lovely chaos.
Yeah. Sir Vilder says, how many of those Dems who voted against purging dead members from their voter rolls would be purged from their voter rolls themselves? As far as I know, all of those people in there. Oh,
it's a joke.
Okay, because of so many.
He's saying they're basically dead people. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we did see some really wild. I mean, I saw a video today from a comedian who was talking about. What was it? There was some invention that happened in 1935, and he talked about how it was caused by the gold rush, and then that caused vaudeville in California and all of these different things that eventually led to this thing that is just nationwide that we all take for granted and think existed forever, but it actually happened in 1935. That's when it happened. He says, now in 1933, Dianne Feinstein was born. So 2 years before this historical example of something that happened way back in the past, he's like, why is this person representing me? He's obviously, in her district in California, I believe. And he's like, why is this person who is older than this thing that was invented in 1935? Why is this person representing me in politics? And you got a good point. T. James Boone says, we are a band of brothers and native to the soil, fighting for the property we gained by honest toil.
Amen.
Why did I think those lyrics were different? I had to look it up myself. I thought it was like fighting for our liberty with treasure, blood, and toil. I thought it was something like that. I don't know why.
With folk
but I
songs,
looked it
there
up
are
and I'm
often
wrong.
variations, so it wouldn't
Yeah, I'm
surprise
way
me if
off.
somebody had a variation.
Yeah.
John C. Barsom, New Hampshire's Democrat because the Free State Project brought in so libertarians who don't vote Republican.
Yeah.
That could be.
I actually believe, just based on firsthand accounts, that Free State Project imported a lot more people than I ever thought would. I thought maybe like 10 families would look at that and say that's a good idea, but apparently it attracted a ton of people, which is ironic because with the amount of people they've attracted, they really haven't made any political gains. Like they haven't actually taken over any spots.
Well, they're probably not voting. Or if they are voting, the other thing that they could be doing is just that the entrenched bureaucracy has created such voter fraud with dead people voting on voter rolls and things along those lines that no matter how many people you move to the area, even if you are participating, it's not going to make a difference. John C. Barson says Northeast also has unicameral legislature.
I think that's Nebraska.
It is.
Oh, Nebraska. Yeah.
Boy, we're gonna have to run through the acronym. What is the word I'm looking for?
Abbreviations.
Abbreviations of the states, man. You're dropping the ball on this.
Well, I mean, NE is Northeast, and we were just talking about New England.
I'll go after Jeff on this. I'll go after Jeff on this when the post office can figure it out.
Dude, I had a parcel one time. I don't remember where it was shipped to, what state we were shipping it to, but it ended up going the wrong direction. And because I paid for the insurance and the tracking on it, eventually it showed up, but it took like a month. Competency crisis, I tell you what. T. James Boone says monarchy is better than caucus is better than primary.
My man.
All right. T. James Boone says caucuses favor informed high IQ people over lukewarm normies. Maybe. Like I said, I don't understand how they work. I know that a bunch of people get in a room and then they kind of shift around and people move. But other than that, I don't really know how they work. He continues, primaries enable every numbskull to have an equal voice. Well, then in that case, I'm against it. John C. Barson says T. James Boone is correct about the superiority of the caucus, but not the way the Democrats did it. Again, I don't know anything about it.
Yeah.
Reasonable thinker says, sup, crackers. Sup, my
Sup,
nigga.
foo?
How you doing? Good to see you, man. John C. Barsoon says, congrats, guys. We're all getting old. Jeff, most affected.
Oh, no.
I'm the youngest guy here. Actually, I think Sam
know.
might have me beat by a few months. But, I mean, we are all getting old. A friend of mine at church, I saw him today, and his hair was turning gray, and he's just a few years older than me. And I was like, oh, no, it's coming. It's coming, man.
I'm older than I've ever been before, so.
Hey, but not as old as you will be. Lord willing, and the creek still rise.
Yeah.
Lord
willing.
Yeah. And Sir Vilder says, hey, love to see my fellow monarchists in the chat. Yeah, this is I am not a monarchist, but I am monarchist friendly. I appreciate you. I mean, Samuel has some really good points, and I really appreciate the work that he's doing, which, by the way, this is kind of on the spot, and you don't have to answer if you don't want to, but how's the book thing going? Is there any progress that direction?
I'm going to exercise my Fifth Amendment right to. No, I'm just kidding. No, it's on hold for now.
Okay, so the book is on hold. Well, yeah. For those of you who don't know, watch our previous show with him. It's episode 4, our first episode that we ever streamed to YouTube, I believe. Right. Yeah. But he talked about the arguments for a monarchy, and he's writing a book, or has written a book, but hasn't gotten it published. And I'd love to see that published by somebody, widely distributed, and I'd love to get my hands on it, and it might be the clincher for me. But with that said, I'm going to close out the comments and we will end it there. But any closing thoughts, Samuel, before we go?
Not really. The main thing that I want to say is hang tight, guys. Republicans have got a chance at the midterms here. The main thing you can take away from this is that this will forever change how redistricting is done. Between the two Supreme Court cases we discussed, Louisiana versus Calais and Rucho versus Common Cause, we will be seeing a lot more of this in the coming months and years. So it's going to be exciting to see how this pans out. But just stay tuned. There's going to be a lot more of this.
Yeah. Well, and Sean, closing thoughts.
Samuel, you are one of my favorite guests. Honestly, you should replace me on this show and maybe bring this show some class. And
definitely double the IQ.
Yeah, for sure.
The average IQ.
No, but you always bring a lot of legitimacy to things that we say. You're a very thoughtful thinker, and I just always love having you. Love to have you again in the future.
Thank you very much.
And I will say this too. I mean, Samuel, you and I will disagree on things, and it's always amicable. Mm-hmm. I mean, I appreciate that because we do have strong feelings about the things that we believe, and we should, because what we believe molds who we are. And I love the fact that we can disagree on things, but still be able to see the larger picture of the things that we do agree on, the things that unite us and make us stronger. And like I said at the beginning of the program, you're a plan truster and we're panicans, and that's okay. We don't let it come between us, and we still love each other, and we still love the work that we do. And I really appreciate. I mean, I can't say enough how much I appreciate the encouragement that you are and the really actually good work. I mean, what have I done? I mean, I'm a wagey with a podcast that gets 100 viewers on a good weekend. And here's a guy he's worked in a state Supreme Court. I mean, you're really a high hitter. I mean, I love the work you do. And I really appreciate you taking the time to come on a tiny, dumb little podcast like this.
No problem. Anytime for y'all. And the thing is, no matter what our disagreements are over, we disagree on things, and the things we disagree on are because we're on the same side and we both want to win.
Right.
And that's what really unites us here. We both want a better future for our children and our children's children, and whatever it takes to get that, I think we can both say we're going to do that. And if it turns out that my plan trusting was right, I have every confidence that you're going to eventually come around and say so and follow along, and vice versa. If you turn out to be right and Trump is just a retarded shill, I'll be the first to admit that when things actually do start going south. So,
but not before.
Not before. I'm gonna hang on to every little shred of hope for victory I can get until it's
fantastic.
Lost.
All right. Well, again, thank you so much for coming on the show. And folks, the after show will start as soon as this one ends. If you are a father supporter, you can find it in the father supporter group chat. There is a link for that, and we will see you there. But for the rest of you, go to bed because it is late. I mean, it's 10:30 where we are. It's 11:30 where Samuel is, so it's even later for him, and we really appreciate him being available to us. But tomorrow is a work day. Tomorrow is a day that God has prepared good works for you to do, and you need to get some rest so that you can do those to the best of your ability. But with that said, we appreciate all of y'all for hanging out and coming along for the podcast. Get some rest, and we will see you next week. Don't give up. Fight, 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 because it's not over. There is hope for the future. It's never over until it's over. And brothers, it ain't over yet. So with that said, fellas, good night and farewell.